Alexis, you come up with some fantastic debates, some meh debates. This one was a good one though.
Hey, it's hard week after week.
I know where you're going with this one. You wanted to talk coaching, and this is not a slight to Dean Evson, as we had said in our rundown. It's just a conversation piece. The coaches that you'd like to have on the Minnesota Wild bench. You tell us your selections, tell us why you chose those three, and then obviously who do you pick?
Yeah, it's a big mystery. No, so I was very careful of the way that I phrased this on Twitter, because I'm like, I don't want to make it sound like Dean Evison needs to get out. Like, I'm just like curious,
right.
Like, who's somebody that you really respect as a coach, and you always hoped that when there was an open coaching spot for the Wild somehow picked him up. Love Dean Evison. So yes, nothing against him, just a fun thing to debate, because there's a lot of good coaches in the league. So I picked Barry Trotz, Peter Laviolette, and John Tortorella. And that was the other thing I had to be careful of, because I'm like, which coach? I'm like, wait a second, I gotta say which coach in the last couple of years, because John Tortorella isn't coached anymore. I really had to finesse.
You just wanted to get Torts in there. Yes, of course.
So
everyone knows that.
I'll just say the last couple of years, if they coached, who do you want? And so, yeah, those are the three I picked. And we've talked about this from time to time, like when Bruce was out, we talked about, the coaching carousel. And there was a time early on when we started the podcast where there was like 9 coaching spots available in the league. And you and I have had some discussions on like who would be a good fit here in Minnesota. There was questions if Dean would get the head coaching spot after his interim bit was up before they hired him permanently. So thought it would be a fun topic to circle back to. And I picked a couple that I thought you liked. I couldn't remember exactly, but I'm like, I think these are some that Jesse liked.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So I picked John Tortorella. Obviously, I love that man. I would do anything for him. One of my favorite bits is to say that I would give both kidneys to him, not just one. He can have both. I absolutely love him. He is a funny coach. He is a fun coach. And as someone who works in sports, like I've said this a million times, and I've said this to Jesse as well. Like, I want John Tortorella to yell at me. I want to piss him off in a press conference. It's a goal of mine in my career.
Turn your phone ringer on. It'll do.
It's so simple.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Whenever I'm in a bad mood, I go and watch John Tortorella getting angry compilations on YouTube. So I need John Tortorella at some point in his life.
Just a whole nother surprise. You take it to just this extra level always, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So please, Minnesota Wild, at some point in the future, when the coaching spot is available, consider John Tortorella, because I need him here in Minnesota coaching the Minnesota Wild.
Would you accept him as like an assistant? Or does he have to be the head guy? I don't think he would take an assistant job, but just curious, like, would you settle for that just to get him here?
I would, but that would also take away part of the reason I want him there, because like I want the post-game pressers, right? Like you still interview the assistant coach from time to time or whatever, right?
Actually, like never. No, I feel like
they interviewed Bob Woods on the Bally's broadcast in intermission, I think. Nice. Anyway, so it would take away a little bit of the fun, but just to have him here would be a real treat. So you guys all know who that was. You guys come at me every week for like my selections. This week it was fair, it was reasonable. I understand it. Jesse, who would you go with?
It's a tough call, because I love Barry Trotz. I love the New York Islanders, despite we're just going to pretend that they haven't lost like 8 straight.
They're not doing too hot.
No, but I love Barry Trotz. I wanted him here as head coach before Dean, took the interim tag off. And again, no slight to Dean. He's far exceeded any of the expectations or what I thought. And I'm happy to say that, very happy to have him here as the head coach of the Minnesota Wild, because he's obviously doing something right. But I also love Peter Laviolette too. I really appreciate what he has done. He's a Team USA guy. I love that. He's got a calm demeanor. Barry Trotz has got a calm demeanor. See, where you go for the chaos, naturally, I go for just like the guy that's going to give me the best post-game quotes. I'm not going to make too angry. Lindy Ruff kind of walked out on me yesterday because I had gotten a little pointy. But no, I mean, I think I got to go Barry Trotz. There's just something about him. I think I got to go. I mean, both those guys are successful. All 3 of those guys have been successful, right? So it's hard to say. However, it also goes back to, I'll put a little asterisk next to this, as we had discussed when we were talking who was going to take over for the Minnesota Wild. I would love to see some fresh faces, right? Like, yes, these guys are legends, and yes, they've done the thing, but I think it would be nice to get some younger guys up in here, see what happens, especially as teams are getting younger and younger. I think, maybe that's part of the reason that New Jersey might be kind of struggling. Those guys are kids. They are children playing out there. And I think Lindy Ruff has just a very old school approach to some things. And,
yeah,
I think that's maybe why you're looking at Barry Trotz and the Islanders maybe not having the success. And so Barry Trotz, my final answer. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. And I mean, Barry Trotz is one of the winningest coaches, in history. So I respect that. Like, if you want me to think logically and reasonably, I get it. I would probably go with Barry Trotz too. But like you said, I mean, Torts, Laviolette, and Barry Trotz are all within the top 15 winningest coaches as far as wins go. And I'm not talking Stanley Cups. I'm talking like game wins. And Barry Trotz, won Stanley Cup, and Peter Laviolette a Stanley Cup. So there's a lot of good choices out there. I really liked Trotz when he was, the Capitals. I loved Trotz with the Capitals. And so I think Trotz is a good choice, but you know me, I got to go the route of chaos at all times possible. And so John Tortorella, get over to Minnesota. We need you, please.
No, every
after
writer,
Dean Evason is done.
me, Dane, Sarah, and Russo groan and roll our eyes because we will get no quotes post game. It would be just.
Why do you need?
Awful.
You don't need the quotes. You
need
the
chaos.
Quote. It's a trade off. It's a trade off.
He'll just look at you and be like, no, and then walk away and okay, that's the quote. I mean, I think the presser that I was in with him, where he bit his tongue to not yell at me, I believe. And not because I even asked anything bad. It was a fine question. It was 27 seconds long. And the only reason it was 27 seconds long is because he paused to stare at me for 5 seconds before saying no and walking away. That's God.
My favorite, one of my favorite John Tortorella moments is there was one interview where he came in and he was like, we sucked from head to toe, blah, 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 blah. I'm not answering any of your damn questions. And he turns around and walks out. I was like, yes, tell him. That's all you need. That's the one quote. Use that one quote. What more do you need?
Ugh.
Says the radio and TV personality rather than the writer.
Right, exactly. You never think of us. You TV people never think of us. We have to do all the work. We ask all the hard questions. You guys just sit back, take our quotes, smile, and look pretty.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.